And I'm the Professor Zach Lyons. We're going to take you all the way to 6:30 p.m. right here on 104.5 The Zone, 615-737-1045. I mean, if the game hadn't gotten out of hand, we'd probably be sitting here saying, man, can't believe Cam Ward had the best game of his career after having the best game of his career. And then things just got out of hand, and the Saints were able to really turn the tide defensively, but also offensively, because the Tennessee Titans defense, man, the injuries, the talent finally caught up with them.
Well, let's start with some positives and some congratulations. Cedric Gray goes over 150 tackles for the season after missing a game as well.
12 today.
12 today, yeah.
Yeah.
Big Jeff, double-digit sacks.
Yep.
Pro Bowl, congratulations. DK, Pro Bowl NFL record for rookies, all-purpose yards in the season. Congratulations. Cam Ward jumps over 3,000 yards passing for the season. Congratulations.
First time in rookie has done that.
And Pollard, 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
Those are the positive in a season of tremendous ups and downs. And going from last week's game, where we talked about that might have been one of the most complete played football games, to a first half that seemed to carry over from that game to a second half that looked like the team of old. And it's unfortunate because there were so many positives, even within this game, that happened, that the cloud covered over this loss based on a half of football. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the discussion over this season. There was a lot of positive things that happened. We just listed a few of them from a lot of guys Big Jeff gets a lot of credit, deservedly so, right? He's the best player on the team, and he's getting a lot of notoriety, Walter Payton Man of the Year, all the different things, and rightfully so. But there's some other guys that have really stepped up and made a lot of plays this year in football. However, it sometimes gets trumped by stuff that happens today. A lot of missed tackles, big splash plays I'm sure we'll get into, incompletions, missed opportunities, missed blocks. And again, I thought the offensive line played a pretty decent game again. I thought they gave them time to protect. There's a couple of times where, that happens, right? But they were solid. They were solid in the run game again.
Huge pockets a lot of the time.
Absolutely. But all that stuff, all that good gets overshadowed by what you're left with. And that you're left with giving up a substantial lead, not being able to stop them when you needed to, not able to convert when you needed to, and that's the taste you have in your mouth. And that's the unfortunate piece, because it was a good played football game until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And there were some positives until there wasn't.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate piece about the game.
Yeah, it really felt like a tale of two halves to me. And I would also remind people that might just be looking at the season records for these two teams. The Titans were 2-1 in the last 3 coming into this game. The Saints were 3-0, 4-2 in their last 6, playing really good football right now. And Brandon Staley has that defense playing pretty well for New Orleans. When the Titans came out and jumped up all over them, it felt like the highest of highs. And then it was the lowest of lows in the second half. You look at that first half, some of the placement Cam Ward had on those explosive throws down the field where he was putting the ball like just away from the defensive back, giving his guy a chance to make a play, looked like really advanced quarterbacking. He's extending plays. The Titans are running the ball. And then in the second half, for whatever reason, it kind of felt like a bit of a regression. It felt like there was more holding on to the ball a little bit too long. There were a couple of plays where the ball was a little bit behind the wide receiver. You and I looked at each other in disbelief, Zach, whenever he threw the ball like 4 yards out of bounds downfield towards James Prochet. And it just kind of felt like things in the first half, things were really clicking. They weren't in the second half, and you combine that with the fact that the wheels kind of fell off on defense, and that secondary having to play guys that they just picked up off the waiver wire, it felt like the attrition finally caught up to them, and the Saints were able to make whatever play they wanted in the passing game. Tyler Shuck, hats off to him. He's having a great rookie season. He had a couple of buckets in this game, but it just felt like they could not sustain the drive they had going for them, the fire they had going for them in the first half. And eventually man, a team that plays the way the Saints play is going to catch up to you.
Well, you're talking about the fourth ranked pass defense in the entire NFL, but then you're also talking about the third best defense in terms of efficiency in the New Orleans Saints coming into this game since week 12, since they've came out of their bye week. And it showed because it looked like to me the disparity in the two defenses, which the Tennessee Titans are ranked in like the low 20s, whereas the Saints are ranked in the high teens for the most part in some of these stats, you could see it. The defensive talent, the defensive adjustments that Brandon Staley was able to make. And listen, that's not a knock on Denard Wilson because, I mean, you're starting Kamon Hall. You're starting Kaiir Elam. Kaiir Elam and Kamon Hall were just on the team, arrived on the team like 2 to 3 weeks ago. Right. They're being thrust into roles that they're not ready for. And you have Kendall Brooks, who is your fifth safety back there getting reps. Like, there's only so much you can do. And they kind of made it easy for Tyler Shuck. I mean, you can't make life easy on a quarterback. They tried to get to the passer and tried to put him in a lot of pressure situations, and they did a lot of that. But then when you have a Chris Olave or Juwan Johnson or someone wide open, you make life easy. And and I don't think that's anything other than a talent on talent issue. They just couldn't win their one-on-ones in the secondary, and that made life really easy on Shuck. When you look on the flip side, the Saints made life difficult on Ward. I mean, he had the longest time to throw since 2016. 4.07 seconds average time to throw. And it felt like that. Some of that is because he had a clean pocket, but most of that's because there's nobody open down the field. Now, we'll see if that matches up with all 22. But the Saints made life difficult in the second half on a quarterback. The Titans couldn't make life difficult. Not saying they didn't, but they just couldn't make life difficult.
There's a couple things in what you said just there. There's the first half of this game, it was almost like the Saints couldn't tackle. Like the chick play, like this is case in point. That should have been a big catch down, regroup, we go to the next play. Couple missed tackles, gets in the end zone. Titans have a big play. You flip that almost happens in the reciprocal to the Titans in the second half, where you can't get a guy down. He breaks a couple tackles. Now, they were fortunate one time, the same thing happened. He ends up fumbling. You recover in the end zone. But that was they just traded energies, really, is what they came down to. They just traded.
That's a good way to put it.
And when the Titans in that first half, they were making big catches. And to your point, I thought Cam, he had a lot of time to throw it. I thought he missed some guys. There was, especially in that right before the 2-minute drills, a couple guys I thought he missed, a couple opportunities he missed. But the difference is, and I think Shook, he had guys, they made those plays even in tight quarters. And they missed some too.
Yeah.
But to your point, I don't know if it was coverage or if it was just simply one-on-one battles that they weren't able to create hard catches for them. They were there, and then they just weren't making that play. And to your point, you got to make those plays more.
And in the run game, too, like how many times was a linebacker or corner or an edge rusher or whatever, defender was right there to make a play, and they just couldn't make the play.
Yeah, you talk about having to go back and watch the tape, and I'm with you both. Like, I kind of want to see what was going on downfield on a lot of these plays before I weigh in officially. But what we do have right now are the next-gen stats that show these receivers were below average in terms of separation today. So the league average is 2.99 yards per play. Chig was the only one above that mark at 3.09 yards of separation per play. Everybody else well below the league average. So it stands to reason when you think about, I see Cam Ward standing flat-footed in the pocket and just calm, not moving at all because the pocket's so clean, it's good, big, plenty of space, all that stuff. What else could it be? And for me, I'm just curious to see whether this was a case of, like, was he looking for the big play and neglecting things maybe underneath that he could have had? Were there genuinely no outlets? Was nobody open? what's the deal? Because that's something he was hitting some of those throws in the first half, and it just cooled off tremendously in the second half.
And Alontae Taylor, nobody
game.
said his name in the first half and talking about swapping energies. In that second half, he was making plays everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I was getting pretty fed up to seeing Alontae Taylor make a play on the ball.
Hey, an impending free agent.
He is a pending free agent. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk more about this game. We're also going to go to the phone, 615-737-1045. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 1045 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Fusion Site is the Titans provider of top-of-the-line VIP restroom trailer and roll-off dumpster needs. Fusion Site, Nashville's MVP. Visit fusionsite.com to learn more. All right, just to reiterate. So was it last week or 2 weeks ago, the Tennessee Titans secondary lost three safeties.
Yeah.
Last week they lost Marcus Harris. Today they lost Jalen Armour Davis. They're down to Kyer Elam, Kamon Hall, and Daryl Baker Jr., who has been pretty much the most reliable member of the secondary.
Yeah. He looks like
as far as health. Yeah, he looks like a Pro Bowler compared to everybody else. But like, just to reiterate, and that's with Jihad Ward and Arden Key as what are presumably your top two options at edge. Whereas really Jalen Harrell's probably playing better than both of them. And like, I'm not surprised that the defense kind of had one of those games, and they've had a few of these games all season, but like, just they couldn't do anything. And these guys don't have chemistry playing with each other too, especially in the secondary where that matters.
There we go. If you think about like how that first half went, it was such a dominant first half. I mean,
yeah.
They really couldn't do much offensively. Now I'm talking about the Saints.
Right.
And then what changed? I don't know. Execution changed from New Orleans' standpoint. They executed a lot better. They started making some plays, but I think the Titans missed plays.
Yes.
I don't know if that's anything to do with the guys in there as much as as New Orleans executed a whole lot better the second half. And maybe it's a combination of the two, because missing tackles is going to be to your detriment, regardless of your status of who you are as a player or the quality of your team. If you don't bring the guys down and you have opportunities, if you miss a lot of open field tackles, you let them get extended plays or splash plays or whatever you want to call them, that adds up regardless of the quality of your team. You could be the number one defense in the NFL and have one of those type games, and in this case, that type of half, and it's going to expose you. This is an offensive league. And football is offensive anyway. You know what I mean? I used to have this argument with one of my coaches. There's a counter to every defense. There's not a counter for a defense for every offense. You're basically being dictated to. You're trying to dictate to the offense, but there's a counter for that. If you send 5 people, we keep another guy in and help block, or you send 6, or we can change the routes. We can do those types of things. We can always counter a move offensively. So the key to that is playing fast, playing assignment sound football defensively, playing fast, and tackling and rallying to the football. And I think that is what missed out on that second half, is that latter part of that tackling and rallying to the football. You got to tackle a little better. And I think maybe if that's the case, the outcome might be a little bit different. Maybe it's the other way around. The Saints are now scrambling, trying to go to a 2-minute drill, trying to go down and get the winning score.
I'll be curious to watch the tape back on this game. Another aspect of this is the defensive front, because I felt like early in today's game, when they put Jeff and Tavondre next to each other inside, it didn't feel like the Saints had much of an answer for it. They were getting consistent push on that pocket, forcing Shuck out, making him uncomfortable. And when you can get to the quarterback quickly, at least make him uncomfortable, it makes it easier on your secondary to hold up in coverage. Something changed there where they weren't having the same success they were having in the first half up the middle, up the gut on Tyler Shuck. And the Titans secondary was kind of exposed for that. Yeah. When the defense needed to make a play in the second half is when we saw a missed tackle, and Audric Estime runs for a 32-yard touchdown or whatever it was. And then you see Shucks finding these one-on-one matchups where they're cooking up concepts that get Chris Olave one-on-one with Kamon Hall, who just got here, like you said, Zach. Or, there's plays where the middle of the field is left wide open, and if the rush can't get to the quarterback's going to have time to find those open guys. And it just kind of felt like one of those exponential issues in the second half where if something could go wrong, it did go wrong. And I think it started with them not being able to generate as much push up the middle as the first half.
On that touchdown run, I wonder if Big Jeff had a missed assignment. I think he went the wrong gap. I looked like he was supposed to go the other gap. I think he was lined up in the shade and supposed to go to the B gap and guard, not trying to get all technical, but I think it looked like he went the wrong way because there was like a frustration on him. And usually his frustration, you can tell, is directed at his teammates. Let's go. It looked like he was frustrated with himself. It was almost like he created that gap right there for him to get to the second level. And now, still, even if it is the case, I'm not saying he had, but it kind of shared like that. And then, but still, if it happens, that's when the guy's the next level. You're there. You got to make that tackle. You gotta save him from the mistake he made. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. It just seemed like that. It looked like that to me, but I could be wrong.
Well, I think that's a situation where your personnel doesn't really help you. Like your lack of depth kind of forces everybody else to play perfect. Like you needed your defensive front to play perfect. They couldn't make a mistake, or else you saw what would happen. Touchdowns.
Well, I think the other thing is that the New Orleans Saints in the second half kind of leaned on Audric Estime.
Yeah.
Going in at the end of the first half, he had 2 carries for 6 yards. At the end of the first half. Wow. At the end of in the entire second half, he went 12 carries to 88 yards.
Oof. That's crazy.
And a lot of that is because they kind of started wearing down or finding the creases to where, okay, if we can just run away from Big Jeff, because like, the big hit on Audric Estime, 9 yards down the field, I think Charles Davis said it right. I'll take the 9 yards down the field. I don't care if you come and hit me from, and you're Big Jeff coming out of nowhere and hit me. I'm almost at the first down marker.
We picked up 9 yards here.
Yeah. So, I mean, they were moving the game away from Big Jeff. And I'm kind of surprised more teams didn't do that, kind of move their games away from Big Jeff in some of these second halves. But I have to give props to Kellen Moore. I thought he recognized what wasn't really working in their playbook and was like, okay, maybe we can do this, and then that will kind of free us up in the second half.
Yeah. That's why I was wondering on that play, because Jeff is so quick off the ball that sometimes I think, again, he'd have to verify this, I think he's so quick sometimes that he can take the least path of resistance and then get back to where he's supposed to be and make the play. And I don't know if they use that to their advantage to take advantage of him and the Titans in the situations to say, if he does this, just go ahead and wash him down. And then now we trade blocking and you got him, I'll go to the next level, and that creates running lanes. I'm only saying that just because of that one play. It looked like that was his frustration, like it was that's on me type of frustration. But you're right. I think naturally you try to find your matchups, whether it be in the secondary or up front, to take advantage of. And it seemed they found something specifically formationally running to the left of the Titans defense, and he was able to gash him a few times. And sometimes it was cut back, but a lot of times it was lineups. They were running to the Titans left.
And two in the second half, 7.5 yards per pass play per attempt in the first half, where he was, believe it was 10 of 11 for 82 yards. In the second half, he had 16 attempts in the second half for 251 yards. Tyler Shuck did. 15.7 yards per pass attempt. You just can't win games that way. No. And no matter what happens on offense, if your defense lets a game down like that, where it's a wild, wild swing in the second half, which to your point, it's like they went in the locker room and the Titans players in the first half put on Saints jerseys, and the Saints players in the first half put on Titans jerseys and came out and played the second half.
Yeah, I told Zach when we were off air, I think this was karma for the Cardinals game. They should not have won that game.
Yes.
They should not have lost this one. So it balances out. I do want to mention, Zach, before we move on, while we're talking about the defense, 4 consecutive games now with at least half a sack for Jalen Harrell.
Yeah, there you go. A little Jalen Harrell love.
Listen, he's developing into a nice little depth piece that I think they can count on as like the 3rd or 4th guy next year.
Let's go to Samuel. Samuel, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hello, just a quick question for y'all. Who's to blame for the loss of Titans, the offense or defense, or you think both sides of the balls? I'm ball. I hope everybody have a good day.
Thanks. I mean, listen, Cam Ward, there were opportunities probably to make plays, but I largely, when I look at the second half's difference in yardage totals from for the Saints, half to half, it's hard for me not to put most of the blame on the defense, but I also understand there are severe limitations for this defense.
Yeah. I think in a loss like this, it's equally spread out.
Yeah.
We didn't have most explosive plays, special teams either.
Right.
And I think Defense, obviously, not being able to get off the field, not being able to solidify tackles, letting us extend drives, not really getting sacks or anything. The pressure, not generating turnovers, that's hard for the offense to overcome. But at the same time, offense, extend drives, convert third downs, get in the end zone, help your defense out. There's a couple opportunities for if you, instead of a field goal, you get in the end zone. Now that's a game changer. Now you're putting them in a situation where their running game's not even in the equation really. Now they got their ears pinned back, and now I can be a pass rusher and get out the quarterback and maybe put some pressure on it and help my secondary who is injury riddled and young and inexperienced, or maybe even inexperienced within the scheme. Things like that. So this was a collective loss. I don't think you can just point the finger at any one person or one side of the football. I think just the nature of it, like you just mentioned, Zach, just the flip of what happened from the first half to the second half it was just such a dramatic flip.
Yeah.
I mean, the Titans were outscored 24-6 in the second half. So to talk about spreading it out, like your defense allows the 24 and your offense only scores the 6.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is spread evenly. I will say I do feel like on the defensive side of the ball, it was just attrition that like the personnel just eventually the dam broke. And to your point, Kellen Moore, I think did a fantastic job of taking advantage of those matchups. And Tyler Shuck executed the throws when he needed to make them. They hit the big runs when they needed to make them. Credit to the Saints. But on the Titans side of things, it felt like the offense stalled a little bit, at least because of the mistakes. And so you think if they can clean up some of those mistakes, hit some of those big plays, maybe sustain a drive or two in the second half, maybe the outcome of this game is a little bit different. And I think for me, that's where I feel more disappointed in the offense because of the second half than I do the defense. Yeah. It's almost like, what did we expect the defense to really be? But we expected more out of the offense the way they were playing in that first half.
And I would say the other thing is, we talked about regression a little bit in the second half with what you kind of saw from Cam Ward, or really the offense as a whole, is like, I think part of that is they went back to kind of what wasn't working for this team. I mean, what we talk about the last few weeks, Cam Ward only has 28 pass attempts and this and that. They really leaned into the run game. And then they kind of lean into the run game, but kind of don't. And then they do a lot of runs from 11 personnel, whereas really what has been working is more 12 personnel. And they ended up with 50 out of their at least 68 plays, according to NGS, 50 plays out of their 68 offensive plays in 11 personnel. Yeah. That hasn't been the case, and we talk about Cam Ward's best game. I'm going to bet their shotgun rate is even back to what it was. Yeah. And I look at what was working, and that was kind of a question I had on the pregame show today, and I can't believe I guess I kind of predicted it, sort of, is that I said it like, I don't want to, it feels like we haven't seen that game where they kind of revert to what wasn't working. And I'm like, I'm hoping that we don't see that game. And now we kind of saw it in a different way because they still ran it 18 times, 85 yards. I mean, it's not like they didn't have a good commitment. Yeah, to Tony Pollard. It's not like he didn't have a commitment, but I also think going back to shotgun, going back to 11 personnel, not having two of your best most reliable pass catchers in Gunnar Helm and Chigakonkwo. In fact, Gunnar Helm only with 2 targets. Like, that kind of feels like a little bit of the past Tennessee Titans, not the ones that we've seen, while they were competitive today, not the ones we've seen be better than what we saw today.
And so that's why I said sometimes it's hard to read the stats.
Right.
Because Pollard, first half, 10 for 35.
Right.
Ends up 18 for 85. Pretty good day. Yeah. And one of those was that big run there that set up the field goal there, but hopefully getting in the end zone on that. Excuse me, because I think Kinsley had the big play after that one. You hope you get an end zone after those 2 big plays. But and then you look at the totals, 28 carries for 108 yards. That sounds very good, right? About 4 yards per carry. But then you think about the flow of the game, and to your point of being in a pass oriented formation, when we talk about 11 personnel, that's more or less a run oriented or pass oriented formation, and people do some zone and schemes and out of that. And why was that though? Because if you look at it statistically, and I'm just looking at Pollard right now, 8 carries for 50 yards in the second half. Right? I mean,
right.
That's been their formula, has been him.
Yeah.
Sticking with it.
So what was it in the middle of that half or the second half to why that you get into a situation where Cam was 11 for 15 at halftime, 146 yards, to now I have 10 completions because he had 21 for 40. He ended up. See, he only had 10 completions in the second half, but he threw, 35 more times? Right?
Man.
Right.
And
it wasn't a game where it's completely out of it until you don't really have to pass until those maybe final 2 drives.
So were there, and I'm trying to remember, if y'all help me out on this, were there penalties that put him in a situation where they're behind the sticks?
4 penalties for the whole game.
So it wasn't that. So that's why
and
I
they
don't
won
understand.
time of possession too.
And they had time possession, which a lot of that bulk was in the first half too. But that's what I'm saying. So I don't understand the shift where the running game. Now Spears only had 2 carries in the second half. He whatever they were using him for a running game really wasn't effective. But that was it. They had 10 carries in the second half, 11, and both of those were Pollard, who had some success.
Yeah.
And then, but you still threw 35 more times.
Right.
Right. In the second half. I don't know. I mean, because and you're still in the game.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm wondering what was the dynamic that made that. Now I get it. That last maybe 3:30 of the game where you're trying to go down the score. I get that.
But you may have been in a different situation where maybe you could be icing the situation with the run game. And it just, that to me, that second half was like, I think regression is a good term, and not in the sense of, I think just everybody, including the coaches, kind of took a step back into the bad Titans ways, even though they were up by 10 at the half. What I point to is the fumble 6. That fumble touchdown felt like it, and really the opening drive by the Saints coming out of the half too. But like when those things happen, you kind of felt like it. I think this Titans team is going to blow this.
I'm glad you brought up Tyjae Spears because I was going to go there. It felt like they took Tony Pollard, who was having success, out of the game for extended amounts of time, like several plays in a row. Spears was coming in and he was just completely ineffective. And then in the passing game, you're down Van Jefferson, who we heard Mike McCoy say in the postgame presser. He's made some big plays, some big catches. On top of that, you're looking downfield, nobody's getting open. So why do you make the decision to lean so heavily on the pass game in the second half? I think it's a fair question to ask.
I just wondering what was the mindset. And I said this before in this show, and you guys have heard me say this, is sometimes as a play caller, you have all this stuff at your disposal, and you got this call list, and you have your situational calls, your gotta win calls, your special calls, your trick plays, and sometimes you forget more than you remember. You like, because you have so much that you have in mind going into it, and then the flow of the game, something changes, and then you kind of lose sight of that, and you lose your quote unquote rhythm, and you just start. I won't say you're not grasping at straws, but that's kind of that. This should work. I know it. I've seen it on film, and to that point though, Cam missed some throws. Well, so that's not necessarily play caller either. Like, because we've seen it documented, and the line was, you talked about it at the beginning. They were, as far as amount of time to be back there in the pocket, this is his highest of the season. Was a 4.9?
Yeah, 4.07 seconds.
And so that's crazy. Telling me something. You can say receivers not getting open. Well, maybe, but sometimes quarterbacks throw receivers open. Right? You got to put the ball in a situation where he the only one can make the play. Then there's a couple times I can think of where I saw guys kind of running scot-free. And I'm not saying I'm not back there, have 300-pounders trying to take my head off either. So it's easier for me to say, well, especially looking on TV, like that, he missed that guy. But why was that part of the progression? Was it not? What was the list of people and why you didn't go there? Why wasn't there a dump down? Where's your outlets? Why are we not using those outlets? Sometimes it's good to take, and I'm going to use my old offensive coordinator Les Steckel's quote, sometimes it's you can't go broke making a profit.
Yeah.
And he was like, sometimes you take that 2 yard.
I also had kind of wondered, and just to float this out there, I kind of wondered, because he kind of had success in that first half with a couple of hero ball plays, if that maybe got into his head and thought, hey, I could do it in the second half too.
You know,
and
it's kind of like that home run hitter the next time up, he's going to try to kill it again.
Yeah.
Or that he hit 1-3, you shooting threes the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And listen, you want that kind of mentality in your quarterback, but it got to be a controlled gunslinger, right? We use that term all the time. And I just go back to, I think that's why running the ball and having that rededication for these last few weeks has helped Cam Ward a lot, because I think he felt less pressure. And now you put him in a situation where you really weren't in a situation where you needed anybody to feel pressure.
Yeah.
But you put him in there anyway. And this defense was, I think you played into what the defense was hoping was going to happen in the second half.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, Next Gen Stats has Cam Ward 0 for 4 throwing to his deep left. So that is pass attempts beyond 20 yards downfield, 0 for 4. 10 to 20 yards, 2 for 6. So you look at
just on the left side.
Just on the left side, yeah. So he is 2 of 10 beyond 10 yards to his left in this game. So obviously taking shots down the field to that side, and it's just not really working out for a number of reasons.
That's interesting.
And a lot of those are to Alontae Taylor's side.
That's a good point. Maybe that's the maybe that's the X factor there.
And I will say this, like even the Chimere DK DPI, that would have been a touchdown. That was a money shot.
Yeah.
The one to Van Jefferson, money shot. I mean, he for everything that maybe Cam Ward regressed in certain areas in, I did think that he did try to put the ball. I thought he was pretty accurate. Like we talked about how we want to see more good plays than bad ones. Like the very first miss to Elikiah Manor where he throws it out of bounds, where Elick is clearly there. The Gunnar Helm where he throws it on the inside and it's almost intercepted when if he would have thrown it on the outside, I mean, there was daylight.
He turns and runs with that one. Yeah.
Like those kinds of situations. But then there were also these huge, bigger plays that really got them into scoring position to score. And some of those are really great play designs. But I just think that when you look at this team, I think running the ball, and I don't know, Nate Washington kind of brought this up on our show, and Blaine kind of alluded to it today too, where it's like the DNA of, for whatever reason, the Tennessee Titans are at their best when they just run the football. It doesn't matter what era of football it is, they're just at their best. And I think that this team is at their best when they run the football. I don't know if it's a Tennessee Titans thing or what, but that just seems to be the case. And I just don't understand, after weeks of seeing tangible success of staying dedicated to the run, they decided to move away from it at the worst possible. Maybe they're just tanking. I don't know. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe they got the call. They got the call at halftime. Whoa. Because the Saints were down 10 points, and they showed a renewed dedication to running the football.
They did.
Whereas you were up 10 points, and you decided, let's throw the ball more. All right. Coming up next, we'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about the fumble. We'll also go to the phone call, 615-737-1045. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 1045 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. They're available 24/7. Put Lee Company on your team. Tackle your home's heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical problems. Schedule online at leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Dr. Kevin Dyson, Scholar Stoney Keeley. I'm the professor, Zach Lyons. Got the Grand Poobah, Jackson Williams behind the glass. And we got some phone calls to take. Let's go to the phone. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Eric. Eric, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, guys. I'm going to get to the game stuff in a minute, but first of all, I just hope you guys had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you'll have a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Eric.
Hey, guys, here's one of the frustrating things about this game, losing it the way we did, had a shot at a win. It means still we're going to have to wait till next year to hopefully have back-to-back wins. We have not had back-to-back wins since Mike Vrabel was 7-3 and then lost 7 in a row. So that's another year we got to wait since we've only got one left. That's just so frustrating. But as far as the offense, guys, you got into what I was going to talk about, the fact that Cam Ward, he threw the ball 12 more times than he did last week. He had 28 throws last week. This week he had 40. I thought Pollard should have ran the ball a little bit more. He had 18 carries for 85 yards. But here was also another frustrating thing. There were times, like you said, hero ball where he's scrambling around. Everybody was saying throw it, get rid, or run. Or he did make a couple throws. But there were also times where he could have took off and run with the ball on those throws that he missed, where it was wide open, where he could have ran the ball and didn't. And I thought he should have ran the ball himself. But here's the big play I wanted to talk about, guys. A huge turning point of the game, the defensive lineman that took the ball from Cam and ran for a touchdown. Guys, I'll tell you what, he may have not grabbed his face mask, but his hand was clearly on his face mask. Isn't that hands to the face or something where that should have been a penalty? Because I hear the call hands to the face, and he may have not grabbed his face mask because there was some face mask. Says, well, he didn't grab his face mask, but he still had his hands on the guy's face mask. And they showed the replay of the Jumbotron. There clearly, in my opinion, should have been a flag thrown. I don't know what you guys thought about that, but those are just my thoughts. Guys, tighten up. Y'all take care. We'll talk again soon, and Happy New Year to you.
Thanks. I'm pretty sure any hands to the face counts. Now, on the replay on the broadcast, so I can only speak to what I saw on the broadcast, I didn't see that, but doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily see it either, but if that's entirely the case.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that play real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam Ward gets into the back of his drop, and when it's designed to obviously step up into the pocket after he gets to his drop, J.C. Latham, I mean, I have to say, he played a pretty good game overall. But that was a bad play on him because he almost goes inside, because we watched the replay. He almost goes inside like he's expecting an inside rush. The guy goes outside. So he's a little late to get in there. Then the guy spins back inside and gets right into Cam Ward's throwing lane where he's supposed to step up into the pocket. So Cam Ward is avoiding that. Doesn't know that Chase Young is also barreling down on him because Dan Moore didn't do his job. You can't have both tackles not do their job in one play. Now, you got to hold on to the ball.
I'll fight you on that one. Moore, he extended his rush way past the pocket. He's thinking my quarterback's going to step up.
Yeah.
So you almost can't blame him for that one. Yeah, but JC got demoralized, and it created that outside rush. Because if a guy's taking that wide of a release, I'm winning that because I'm creating that pocket for him to step up. Moore actually, he's going to get the knock because his guy is with the scoop score and everything else. But you think how deep he was to even get there. I mean, he was there.
And I think, I don't think Cam did Dan Moore any favors on that play by running to his right, which allows the rusher to keep going to his right.
Because of what Latham did.
Yeah.
So
it was just like a combination to what Zach is saying. It's a combination.
With Latham, I mean, ideally in a perfect world, you like both of your tackles to stick to those blocks and your quarterback to step up and deliver a ball. I think Cam probably had like a split second to throw the ball away. I don't know that he's stepping into an accurate throw and getting the ball downfield, but maybe he hits that back step, feels the pressure, and can at least get the ball away. But whatever play was to happen there was made exponentially more difficult by J.C. Latham in that spot. It felt like he maybe overset a little bit, was playing too far outside, too deep outside. He expected the rusher to keep that thing going upfield, maybe kind of like we talked, like you mentioned with Dan Moore, expecting Cam to step up, and got a little too far overset. And when the guy hits the spin move inside, there's just a free lane at the quarterback. And then it's a situation where if you're asking guys to be perfect and hold those blocks for a long time, they can't make mistakes.
And then listen, Cam Ward and the wide receivers, we'll just say both of them, were making this offensive line hold on to their blocks a while. Like at some point, you could see some offensive linemen just say, "Well, whoa, Cam Ward still has the ball. Like, what are we doing here?"
There was a couple times you saw that too. Like he still has it. I'd be curious to see what Pro Football says on that. Who's the cause of that sack? Because I mean, if I'm an offense coordinator, I'm looking at Moore and saying that's not necessarily his fault.
Yeah,
because he's doing what he does. He's taking a pass rusher and running him upfield past the pocket. Right? He's assuming he's past the pocket late, and we're talking 2 or 3 seconds ish. The other side, when he collapses the pocket, it forces Cam to your point, Stoney, to bellow out to the right side, which now helps Chase come around that corner and create that sack. So to your point earlier, Zach, of when offensive line plays so communicative and you have to be on the same accord, and they create that halo or that little arch, that's the ideal pocket. And these pass rushers are so good and so talented and so fast that it becomes a foot race. I'm going backwards, you're going forward. If I can make you go 10 yards past my quarterback and be able to step into where the stonewalled guard is, that's the ideal. Well, when he crashes in, I don't know, who was it? Was it Ward on the other side? Who was the other? It was Cam, defensive end that crashed on Latham, right? I forget who
Cam Jordan?
It was Jordan. It was Cam Jordan. I said Cam Ward. Jordan on the other side coming in. When he crashes in, he forces Cam Ward to go to the outside, which helps the other guy. So I'll be curious to see what Pro Football, who they give that sack to.
It'll be interesting to see because, I mean, technically, if you're doing it by the letter of the law, you would say, well, it's Dan Moore's guy. Dan Moore gets it. But I think with PFF, you do get a little bit more nuance. So, I mean, in my mind, J.C. Latham is the catalyst for the whole play breaking down.
I think so, too.
And I think that I do definitely agree with that. And that was J.C. Latham's worst play. Now, obviously, he had the penalty beforehand with the holding penalty, but like that was J.C. Latham's worst play of the game out of 40 dropbacks. And it was a huge play. I mean, I'm not trying to whitewash it
people
away.
Understand, we're not diminishing the offensive line. Offensive line has been played well. The last month of football. We're just talking about occurrence.
I think if you look at it this way too, if J.C. Latham is able to hold the block, route his guy further outside, keep him from spinning inside, it gives Cam an escape path, and then it doesn't matter if Moore's guy gets away from him because Cam has a lane to step up and extend the play. So that's why I ultimately land on it being Latham's
When y'all
fault.
rewatch the film, look at the lane. If he's able to step up, the lane that Moore actually creates to that left, there's a gap for him to escape.
Yeah.
But way it collapsed on him, it forced Cam to go out to the right, which helps chase him down and create that sack super score. Yeah. And so it's just, again, it's a matter of one thing breaks down. Unfortunately, like you said, the one bad play he had ends up being one of the best plays for the Saints the other day.
I mean, you could really say that's when it started. You could feel the tide turn a little bit. Is like you saw that play and you're like, what Tennessee Titans will we see after that play?
Yeah.
Because normally that's when the last few weeks you would see that play and you'd say, okay, well, maybe the Tennessee Titans.
But then they go right back down the next series and score?
I believe so. Let me pull that up.
So that was I think they did, but if they didn't, it was shortly thereafter, I was like, that was a good response to that play. And now I'm going to give credit to the defense on the flip side of that. Up until that point, the defense still hadn't given up any touchdowns.
They did. They went and scored a touchdown on that.
Yeah. So that was a great response from the offense to a negative, and they went back. And again, I know people are listening and watch that game and like, what happened? Because even with that, as bad as that play was, and I still thought he was down. I can't believe they didn't overturn that, but whatever. Even that, they went back and got the touchdown, extended the lead again, and you still thought, we're in control of this game. Like, it's to your point earlier about the Arizona game, it's like, how? Like, it's hard to fathom how they lost this game. It never seemed like they were losing until you're like, wait, they're about to lose this game. Like, you couldn't believe it. It was just hard to fathom that today.
What did you guys think about Eric's question about Cam taking off and running more, using his legs?
I still think he needs to. I feel like there's plenty of opportunity, especially when no one's open.
Yeah.
And again, this is from Dixie, who was at the game in the chat, but he says, a lot of people weren't open, but there's also times where there's long developing routes having to be established, and Cam Ward's waiting for those routes to be established instead of taking off and running.
Let's think of, if you give me your top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League, and whether you call them a pocket passer or not, the equivalent to all of them is their ability to extend drives with their legs. Patrick Mahomes is not Lamar Jackson by any stretch, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he will extend a drive with his legs. Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, who people don't give enough credit for his ability to pass, but you best believe he's going to make a play with his legs. What's another? Even Burrow, I would think, would be the most statuesque quarterback of all the ones that probably in your top tier guys. But he also will get out there a little bit too and make plays with his legs, right?
Look at a guy like Justin Herbert, some of the runs he had against Houston on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because he has a terrible offensive line, too. Cam at least had pretty wide running lanes and passing lanes for the most part of this game. And I think that's going to have to just come with time. I get that it should come naturally, but he's never been that guy.
That's not his game.
At least not since the wing T offense back in in high school.
Yeah.
He's a slinger, man. He likes to throw that football, but I think you can still do both. I would, again, I'm not trying to make the comparison to Mahomes. I think Mahomes has earned the respect that he has given and from his career over the length of time that he's done it. But you look at their body types, their abilities, he might not be as accurate as Mahomes, but they're very similar. And Mahomes finds those wins like that. You see him extending drives with his legs, sometimes just to find another passing person to pass to. And when Cam does it, like today, even like I said, the best play he had today might have been the one that didn't count. It was right before the 2-minute warning for end of the game when he finally decides he's about to run. He finds somebody last minute and gets the first down. Stuff like that. And I think even to that sack with Latham and Moore, I think even something like that where you create with your legs, you can do that instead of like you saw him sometimes just stand there. That kudos, offensive line.
Yeah,
you haven't been able to do that all year long. But let's go ahead and it's about moving the chains.
And also, let's not stand flat-footed too, because let's keep a little bounce, a little move to you. Because I mean, you could see that on his college tape too, but like that maybe gets you an opportunity to make a run because you're not standing still. It's harder to get going from standing still than it is when you're constantly moving.
Yeah, I wonder if it's some sort of mental trigger issue because it felt like there were times where you could see the C's part, but it's like he didn't see it, didn't have the instinct to just take off. There were a couple of his scrambles where it felt like he took off maybe a split second too late and he ends up getting a shoestring tackle on him. Either way, man, it feels like another area where we're talking about regression. Like this feels like we're talking about this game the way we were talking about games in September and October. And that's the discouraging
thing. But it's
thing.
also only in a half.
Well,
But still, that's important, right? Because we talk about consistency for a team. And it felt like this one just got away from everybody. Yeah. Maybe that's the best way to put it. It just got away from the defense. It got away from the offense. It got away from the staff. Somehow, some way.
Remember last week, we were talking about the 2 or 3 times he did run and extend drives. We were like, man, we need to see more of that. That's like what we've been talking about. Yeah. And today we didn't see that as much. And I don't know.
And maybe it's Brandon Staley, right? Yeah. Like maybe Brandon Staley just did what he thought was possible. Because last week I thought it was really odd that oh my God, who they even play last week? Why am I blanking on who they played?
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs blitzed so much.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you because I know you do those numbers. Like,
I don't know what the blitz
time.
Yeah,
how much did they blitz? Were they only sending for creating?
And I think that's the way to kind of beat Cam Ward right now, or at least slow him down, is to drop 7 and know that your guys, your defensive backfield can match up well with their wide receivers.
Well, if you drop 7 and you only got 3 or 4 receivers out,
right.
You were outnumbered. It's hard to be open. I'm just saying. I'm tired. It's hard for me to beat a double team, and I'm not saying 2-on-1 like I had a safety and a corner playing over top or whatever. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying so. It's hard.
I felt like this is like I think we've seen so many teams go with this Brandon Staley. I would be anxious to compare the tape for this and the tape for the Rams.
Yeah,
because I do think that those kinds of defenses have given him. I mean, Brandon Staley obviously came from the Rams, right?
Yeah.
Those defenses kind of make him hold the ball a little bit longer and not make quick decisions and all this kind of stuff. And I think last week everything was a little bit more easy because Spags was blitzing so much.
Yeah.
And this week, Brandon Staley was like, okay, we can at least slow him down. We got one of the best defensive backfields in the NFL currently. We allowed the fourth least amount of pass yards in the NFL. We can slow down this passing attack. And if they continue to pass, guess what? You're playing right in our hands. And I think that's what we saw today. And unfortunately, that led to a loss, even though you had a 10-point win going into the half. Coming up next, more of your phone calls. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. And let's go real quick and let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about the Kroger sacks for cash because, hey, guess what? Big Jeff got double-digit sacks
Double
today.
digits.
And it was a fun
awesome.
sack.
It was awesome.
I mean, he just goes out there and tries to rip out the heart of Tyler Shuck right there on the field, which probably is illegal. And then, of course, you also not only do you have Big Jeff, but James Lynch, and tell me if you've heard this one before, Jalen Harrell in on a sack. Titans had 2 sacks today versus the Saints, adding $200 to the already $4,200, bringing that total to $4,400 for Kroger's donation to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. Every time the Titans sack the opposing team's quarterback, Kroger donates $100 to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee from Kroger. Through its Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan, Kroger is committed to creating communities free of hunger and waste. Kroger is the official tailgate headquarters of the Tennessee Titans. Try Boost by Kroger Plus for free pickup and delivery, plus 2 times the fuel points with your membership. Start your free trial today at Kroger.com. Pay as low as 1 cent per gallon when you redeem fuel points by using your shopper's card. Every 100 points gets you 10 cents off per gallon. Exclusions apply. Visit Kroger.com for details. Heading into the break, we were talking about the defensive philosophies that seem to slow down this offense. And I look at, because if you look at the roster, we all know that the offensive firepower is lacking. Now, they got guys that could be NFL players. What level of NFL players, we don't know. But I think when you have the ability, and it's almost counterintuitive, like you said, Dr. Dyson, that normally you see a lot of people blitz. That's how you attack a rookie quarterback. Well, for this particular team, because I think of how the offense is coached, how it's schemed up, and how you have the playmakers, I think it's better for a defense if they make Cam Ward hold on to the ball and have him make those decisions. Not because Cam Ward can't do it or can't make all the throws. It's because they think they can win, and they have proven to win their one-on-one matchups with those pass catchers in this passing game.
And it's harder if you're dropping 7, you got 3-4 guys out for routes. You know what I mean? You're outnumbered. That's just basic math. And then on top of, I think, and you go back, me and Stone were talking about, you talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs, Spags he attacked.
Yep.
And the Titans were able to win one-on-one battles. And that's going to be the case in the NFL. More often than not, you're going to be able to win a lot of these battles, depending on where the quarterback placed the ball and all those type of things. But if it's 2-on-1, the zone is packed, you're throwing the ball to his zone. There's more chances and opportunities for a negative outcome, and it gets kind of shy to make a throw if there's 2 and 3 guys in the area and you only got one, and your ball placement. Now you've seen them do it. Placed over the hands of a guy or two and hits the zone, hit the pocket, things of that nature. I just really think, even with all that, I think you help yourself out. If you see they're only bringing 4 and you're sitting back there all day long, something has got to trigger you. Unless they're spying him, which I don't know. I don't know if he's that level. They're spying him like a linebacker, like they would with like Lamar Jackson or something like that. I'm been back here, and to your point, I'm flat-footed. Instead of me throwing this way, can I either extend it a little bit more, or can I run and get a few yards out of this? Now circumstantially, it's 3rd and 12, and you're back there. Am I going to realistically get this 12 yards? Maybe not, but I think you help the circumstances a little bit more. He can help himself out a little bit more if that becomes part of his repertoire. If he's helping out, it can be 2-3 yards. Because now what you're doing is, if you're only sending 4 guys and you're getting 2 and 3 yards per pass play, and you're able to create manageable down and distances, and not 3rd and longs, 3rd and mediums, you're talking 3rd and 3-4 yards, and that changes the dynamics of the play caller. Now you are getting more one-on-ones as opposed to zone coverage behind this. And now, because you have to bring people to keep him in the pocket, to add that pressure and force the ball out of his hands a lot quicker, as opposed to what we saw today, especially in the first half. He was sitting back there.
Yeah.
He was able to make some cookies and stuff. He was just chilling.
Yeah, I think the issue is further compounded too when you look at a team like Jacksonville, who rushed for in their own way out of these looks where they're going to put 6 or 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, but 3 or 4 of those guys are going to drop into coverage. Then you're adding a layer where Cam has to decipher in real time as a rookie quarterback in the NFL, well, who's coming, who's going, who's rushing, who's dropping, that sort of thing. And so when you take that defensive approach, you're asking the rookie quarterback to kind of break the code, so to speak, read your coverages, decide where to go. You are banking on the fact that, I read the separation numbers from today's game. You're looking at a wide receiving core that has not separated at a pretty high rate this season. So you're thinking you can win those matchups, and then you're content to just say, you know what, maybe we don't rush the passer because we're confident that your quarterback, your receiving game, you can't decipher what we're doing, and you can't win the matchups.
We can out-scheme you.
We can out-scheme you, and just by alignment alone, defenses are winning that matchup, and they're kind of stalling the Titans offense a little bit. Now, I think a good counterpunch to that is to run the football. And when we saw the Titans make that adjustment and run the football, they found more success on offense. For whatever reason, they get away from it today.
Yeah, and listen, some of that is this wonky third quarter where they only have like a possession and then a minute and 52 before it goes into the fourth quarter. Like the Saints one time of possession in the third quarter, and pretty handedly. And when your defense can't get you the ball back, there is less opportunities to maybe be a little bit more dedicated to the run game. Because when you start getting into the fourth quarter and you are having a couple of 3 and outs, which they did, then you're kind of now putting yourself behind the 8 ball. I mean, they're keeping the ball a minute and 28 seconds, a minute 40 seconds, 2 minutes and 21 seconds on 3 different drives before the final drive. Yeah. And that's putting you in a position where now you're being predictable on offense.
And you have to throw.
Which is playing right into what Brandon Staley and company wants you to do.
To something Dr. Dyson has said on this show before, you've got a coaching staff that is still running plays out of a playbook that is not theirs. So when things devolve like that, when you have to throw the ball, you have to revert to that heavy 11 personnel usage. You have to, the shotgun throwing, that kind of thing too, because you're still working out of the previous head coach's offense.
Yeah. And then that phrase that's become so popular of late is complementary football. It's hard for a defense because think about it, they're still playing with the lead at one point. And if my offense is not extending drives, scoring points, they're minute 39, whatever you said those numbers were, I'm on the field. Now, I'm tired. I'm fatigued. I'm missing tackles. I've given a big play. It's just that microcosm of complementary football is exposed even more so when one element is not having success or the other. But conversely, the first half, defense was getting off the field. They were getting after the quarterback. They were doing the things offense was able to extend drives, make big plays, force New Orleans to miss tackles and things like that. And then that shift happened in the third quarter, and now that complementary football is non-existent because one entity is not able to do what the other. People are going to look at the defense at fault, as they should, because defense didn't make some tackles, didn't make some plays in the passing game, in the vertical game. But if you look at the numbers or look at the whole thing in totality, as you just mentioned, they had 2 drives in the third quarter, one and a half. One was extended time. I think you said 340-ish minutes, almost 4 minutes. And then they had one that towards the end of the third quarter extended. But really from that point on, they had 139, 140, whatever those numbers were. Whereas on the other side of that, they're on the field. They're not getting off. So it just shows you how important complementary football really is. I know that's got this new term. I think new is fairly common. Everybody's kind of favorite thing to say right now. But it's so true. And that's why they say if you can win at least 2 elements of the 2/3 of the elements of the game, and that's special teams, offense, defense, you can win 2 phases of those. You give yourself a higher probability of winning a football game. Whereas in the first half, I would say the Titans probably were in the leader in all 3 phases.
Yeah, I mean, we really, we all kind of said it, but we really thought that was turning to be a rout by the Tennessee Titans.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I mean, because let's be honest. I know that it sounds maybe we're being overly critical, so I do want to throw this out there. They've played 16 quarters over the last 4 games, and 2 of them were bad.
That's
and they
it.
were
Yep.
this 2
Come on.
today.
That's it.
That's still improvement for a Tennessee Titans team to build on. But now you got a tall task going into Jacksonville, which we'll preview later.
Who needs to win?
Who needs to win. And you have a chance to be spoiler. It's going to be one of those who wants it more, but also like Peter Skoronski said today, like Mike McCoy said today, they just didn't finish today.
That's it.
This Tennessee Titans team didn't finish, whether it's on offense or defense or special teams, did not finish in the second half because they could have wrapped this game up.
Yep.
And they let it get out of hand. And before you know it, you have someone that has thrown 250 yards and rushed for 88 yards just out of nowhere in one half of football.
Got to give them credit, too. We're talking about the Titans, but obviously you got to give credit to a team like the Saints was also trying to find their identity and find a winning culture. You got to give them credit for overcoming that adversity in the first half and finding a way to win a football game because – truth be told, it wasn't until the fourth quarter when they got that lead, that one-score lead, when this seemed like, what the heck happened? Because up until that point, Titans, they were able to bounce back. Oh, they got this touchdown. We got the field goal. Or it was still able to keep the lead up until that point. And it was like, whoa, what happened? So got to give them a little credit for what they were able to do as well.
And I do think that there is a positive spin cycle to this game, too, where you look at it and say, man, they were down to like their 6th safety playing next to Amani Hooker, a developmental guy that they like in Kendall Brooks, who played some good ball in the preseason, but he's a developmental player for a reason. You look at the corners they had to play, and the fact that they were still playing as well as they were early on, I think does speak to the spirit of this team and what they can do when they are executing and playing complementary football. So, I do kind of echo that, Zach. I don't want to get too lost in the negatives for this game and lose sight of the progress that they had made leading up to it. I think for me, the frustration comes from the fact that they kind of reverted to some old bad habits. And that's what I don't want to see because this roster is still not deep and talented enough to overcome when they don't play complementary football and when they're not executing perfectly. So I think there is a positive tint to this as well.
615-737-1045 is the number. We got calls rolling in right now. Let's go to Cedric. Cedric, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, so as I recall, man, early, the first couple of years in Nashville, Mac 9 struggled a little bit making routine plays to the wide receivers. Obviously, we know that Wycheck was his security blanket. But, KD, this question is for you in particular. We see the wild plays from Cam and the holy smokes plays, but, Cam struggles a little bit, I think, to make some of those routine throws. You guys talked about the first third down play of the game where he had Alexander there. What did Mac do specifically to get more efficient making those routine plays to the wide receivers? Not so much to Wycheck because we know what that combination was like, but to you and Mace and Thig when you guys were there, what did he do to get more efficient with that? And do you think Cam could make that step? And if so, what does he need to do? And then talking about Wycheck or tight ends, what do you guys think the free agent market is going to be like for Chig in the offseason? That's all I got, man. Thanks.
Yeah. I'll let y'all handle the free agent part of it. That's such a profound and great question because I think there was a level of maturation with Mac to his outside receivers. There was this thing, especially when we were playing it, they're not going to worry about the outside guys because he's going to Frank. That was his guy. And I think that there was an indoctrination to Mac's brain and I said it earlier, you can't go broke making a profit. So he wasn't intentionally seeking us out unless the play call dictated it. And then there was a shift, offensive philosophy in the sense, when Heimdinger got here, where he basically said they get paid too. They need to make plays for you, so give them opportunity. And it wasn't saying that Frank wasn't effective. Wasn't saying Eddie wasn't. He was saying we got these other guys and they have ability. Give them a shot. And so there was a real intention on that, especially that first off season, on some of the things we implemented that were already kind of embedded in the offense, but some things that he brought in that really helped back and gave him a sense of you can go outside and have that confidence that we were going to make those plays because we worked on it. We just kept working on it. We kept working on it. But it was somewhat, and I'm saying a philosophy shift when it really wasn't. It was just being intentional with that aspect of his game. And that development helped him progress. People forget his name was Eric McNair. And those first 2-3 years, because it was different era of football, it was more the big running backs, and we had Eddie, and he was doing it was just a different era. And people forget he's known for throwing the football. And I think to a sense, I think Mac actually forgot that about himself in a way too, until he got a coach that was like, let's go back to that. You go be you. You're Eric McNair. And we'll get all this stuff. We got all this down. We know you can throw it to Frank. We know Eddie can run. Let's extend your game and let's be intentional with it. And I think that whole offseason, I'm thinking about, we worked on the deep game. We worked on our short route, our quick games. We worked on our medium game and some adjustments, some of the things we did literally every day up until the season started. And that was real intentional on Heimerdinger on his development. And you saw, I think he was, that first year with Heimerdinger, his numbers went up. And that second year, I think maybe it was the second or third year, he was co-MVP. Right? And that was with Heimerdinger. So I'm just saying, like, there was that intentionality. And now, again, as we talked about, this staff is playing with Callahan's cards. And so there's a level of just get through the season. Now, we know there's going to be some changes and things like that. But I think whomever comes in, that is going to be, let's watch this film. Because what game was that when he missed that slant? Was it Houston? I can't remember. And he just missed that quick slant, threw it behind him, and could have been a first down, which could have helped him extend the drive, could have won the game. And I think it was Houston game. But again, we don't see a lot of quick game out of it. We don't see like slants and hitches and stuff like that. Why? And I don't know why. I don't know the scheme and the philosophy behind it. But again, there's some intentionality that comes with that. But I'll let you guys talk about the free agent piece, what you guys think.
I mean, I think, if you look at what Jonnu Smith got paid, believe he got paid like $12 million a year, is like 3 or 4 for 40, something like that. I'm not saying that he should get that, but I mean, he's probably going to get double digits because, I mean, you just watch how he runs when he gets the ball in his hand. I mean, that is a guy that you have the cap space, and I understand you may be overpaying for a non-premium position as such as tight end. He obviously has chemistry with Cam. He's obviously able to get you yards after the catch if you get him involved, throughout the whole game. I don't know. That's a guy that I'd be willing to bring back for a considerable amount of money over probably maybe another team is willing to pay for him.
Him and Gunner are a good combo.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at this in terms of weaponry. Cam Ward needs weapons. And we're talking about a guy that can be a weapon. Maybe not much of an asset as a blocker, but you see when he's leveraged in shifts and motions and coming out of the backfield, there are different creative ways to get him the ball. And when he gets the ball in his hand, he can make things happen. And so I think just from a base level, it's like, do you want guys that help spark the passing game? Yes, he's one of those guys. Already has a year's worth of chemistry with Cam Ward. So when you're comparing it, like, wouldn't you rather have that than maybe going out and maybe overpaying for another player at wide receiver that's going to have to come in and build that chemistry up? I don't know. You start weighing the pros and cons of it, and I think there's a really strong case to be made for bringing him back and spending the money it takes to get him.
And I think also when you kind of look at it, there's also a couple other factors, right? Does Chig even want to come back?
Fair enough.
Does he think that his role is bigger elsewhere on a winner? Maybe he decides, hey, I can go catch passes from Patrick Mahomes.
Oof, don't say that now.
I know. Someone put that in my ear, and I can't stop thinking about
it. That was me. Future Chief, Chig Okonkwo.
And also, what is this offensive scheme? Yeah. We don't know what this offensive scheme is. Now, we know most of the guys that, you would likely want to hire would recognize that, hey, Chig's this guy. We can use Chig this way. But maybe they require 2 tight ends that can block.
Yeah.
Like, maybe those are the 2 guys that are going to be out there. Now, they can also catch passes, but to be able to disguise what you're doing to another team goes a long way.
Yeah.
So they may not want Chig.
The tight end position is one of the most underrated positions in the football league right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talk about the quarterback and the high-priced wide receivers, and you got to. But if you look at, of recent, the teams that have had tremendous success offensively, and they've been in the top 10, whether it be Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo, Philadelphia. I'm trying to think of another team that's been in the top 10 in recent years. But if you look at those teams, you look at their tight ends.
Yeah.
And now we look at people like Vegas, Arizona, who have two of the best tight ends in the game, two young tight ends and two of the best young tight ends in the game. And the reason that is because when you look at what those guys, what Kelsey was in his prime and what these guys are doing now, they're a matchup problem.
Yep.
Do you line him up with a linebacker staying base? Do you spin and put a nickel and put a 220-pound guy on a 250-pound guy that's going to put his hands all over it and create running game space? Mm-hmm. And so if you got one, maybe two guys and Kansas City had two. I mean, Kelsey's probably on the downswing of his career, but they had two. You look at some of these other teams, they've had at least one. I even go back to even my era with Gonzalez and Gates and Sharp, and you have those type of guys. You got to hold on to them. To Frank, we were just talking about Frank.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like guys like that are matchup problems. And if you're gonna put me 1-on-1 with a linebacker with that kind of talent, I should win. But again, to your point, how do you utilize them too?
Yeah,
you got to. Are they primary blockers? Or are they pass catcher? Well, Kelsey's an efficient blocker, but he's a pass catcher, right? He's a matchup problem because he's a big body. Safeties can't really handle him. Corners not gonna handle him. Then linebackers, he's winning those battles. And then he's a zone. He lives in that zone. He finds holes. And he has that rapport with Mahomes. And again, that's kind of what you're looking for. Somebody has a rapport with their quarterback and make plays. And what Chig has been able to do this year, could you replace that? Probably. However, that chemistry is something you can build upon. And I think from a financial standpoint, and again, people probably feel different. I think you could spend a little bit less to keep him. Now, there's other factors where you want that, whatever, compared to what you had to probably spend to replace him.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Chick, because I do think he's earned a lot more. There's a lot more people calling for Chig to stay than there ever have been in the Tennessee Titans career, because he's probably been the most underappreciated weapon that the Tennessee Titans have had, and mainly because I don't think he's been used properly.
I thought Jonnu was kind of in that same boat.
Yeah. I'll say I think you can go get your blocking specialist in the draft at the position too. And if you've got Chig, you've got Gunnar Helm, and you go get a guy that can block like a Jackson Halls that the Buffalo Bills just drafted last year, you find that guy, suddenly you're 3 deep. You've got a pretty well-rounded tight end room.
All right, coming up next, more of your phone calls. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Let's go straight to the phone. 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go to Larissa. Larissa, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hi, my favorite guys. Favorite show. I keep saying that. And I hope everyone had a beautiful Christmas and holiday season, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year's to you.
But you know what? This game was in the palm of their hand. And, Cam is going to be that QB. I really, really think. I mean, he is, if I'm not mistaken, is he the only rookie that's taken the most snaps literally this season? And he's learning on the job in the NFL. So he is getting the business. And I was listening to a show when Blaine had mentioned that when he got his first starting position, first time he got in the huddle, he said everyone's eyeballs look different. Don't quote me on that. But I was dying because I was like, okay. But I want to even ask you, Dr. Dyson, when did you get that, aha, this is an NFL moment? Wait a minute now. So, but I think this young man, this team is going to be fantastic. I really hope people don't lose their faith in that. And this young man comes from a solid foundation, and he is doing so well. So I'm going to hang up and listen. And again, happy holidays, happy New Year.
Happy holidays and happy New Year to you.
Yeah, that's funny. I think it's usually about the third quarter of your first season. And there's a level of, you go from whatever your last game was, bowl game, it used to be around New Year's, and now with the extension, depends on who you are. Then you go from that to your pre-draft stuff. You find an agent, training, working out, all the stuff. There's no break, to draft day, to mini camps, to OTAs, to training camp, to preseason, which was 4 games, to a 16-game season with 1 bye. And if you're lucky enough, it was midway. If you're unlucky, it was either the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, and you're just exhausted, and you don't even realize it. You're just kind of just doing this, what you do. You're just putting your body through it. But there becomes a moment where you get over that hump, you fight through that wall, and it was like week 11 of the season, 12 for me. And I think most guys would say that's kind of where it was, because at that point you've played 4 preseason games and your college football game, your college season pretty much, and it's just October. So you're like, dang, it's just October. So it's about then you start getting over the hump. Now, I'm speaking from a receiver's experience. From a quarterback who has been in the driver's seat since day one, I'm assuming it probably was a little bit sooner for him. The physicalness of the game is not as tremendous for him as it was for, say, a running back, a receiver, offensive lineman, because they just don't do as much running, and they get hit, but they're not doing a lot of it as much. It's the mental part. I'm assuming his learning curve was a lot sooner. He's documented. He's very intelligent. He picks up things very quickly. And this experience that he's getting right now is invaluable. I think his learning curve comes from, one, you play 3 teams twice a year, and there will be some differences, but there'll be some similarities from the first time you play them to the second. How do you process that? How you process what happened to you week 1, and then you see in the same thing week 4, are you able to adjust and beat that? Because if you don't beat it in week 1 and then you see the same thing week 4, you're still not beating it, you're going to see it week 5, week 6, week 7 until you beat it. And I think that is where you hope from a young quarterback's perspective that there is this experience, they're getting better. And I think that's where young quarterbacks seem to struggle, is they haven't gotten better from that. Dang, they're still doing the same things to me in week 1, week 4, what have you. And I think that's where young guys, and this experience for Cam has been great. The difference being, I think, if for somebody like Cam, if you're able to run the football, that also helps any quarterback, let alone a young guy. And I think that's why you see in this last month or so in the season, when Pollard has really elevated his game, if you will, he has been, I think, seemingly better as well. And that pressure, that presence that he has, that leadership, he's able to utilize that in a different way, as opposed to always defending well, I had this back throw because he don't have to do that as much. It's now I'm getting better on a week to week basis.
And I think that all this rookie wall talk and all the snaps being played and all this and that also not only needs to shine a spotlight on Cam Ward, who has played heading into this week he's had the most pass attempts against playoff teams in the NFL.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Okay, but this also speaks volumes to Chimere Dike, who hasn't really hit a rookie wall in my mind. Now, he's just been who he's been all year, maybe not considerable amounts of progress, but I mean, that's a guy that's taken a lot of hits, and he himself has not really hit a rookie wall, because I think you could say Guy Manor has. I think we saw J.C. Latham hit a rookie wall last year. I think we've also saw Peter Skoronski a few years back. I think Tavondre Sweat last year. Like, there are times where you can see it, but you look at a guy like Chimere Dike and Cam Ward, doesn't really seem that way.
Yeah, and I think, look, there's an optimistic angle in here too, where to this point, we sat in here a few weeks ago and looked at one another and asked, hey, does it seem like the game's starting to slow down a little bit for Cam Ward? And I think that's an encouraging thing, and that's where you do see the benefit of just getting out there and getting the live reps and playing the defenses week in and week out, and just kind of a trial by fire sort of situation. And yeah, he's made some mistakes, and no, I don't think he's played perfect football this season, but I think the end result is something that is encouraging, and Titans fans should feel pretty good about the direction that this quarterback is heading in.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, more of your phone calls, and we'll also get to the Eurofix look ahead. This is the Lead Company Titans Talkback here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company Titans Talkback. The Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Got the Dr. Kevin Dyson, the Scholar Stoney Keeley. I'm the Professor Zach Lyons here. We're here with you till 6:30 p.m. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Marcus. Marcus, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Hey, man. Like I said, it's been 17 weeks now. The rest of the team do about 441 days. You know what I'm saying? One thing we don't learn is how to lose. I know that. You know what I'm saying? I know we don't learn how to lose. Today, when that coaching, man, I've been saying the coach really showed that he ain't the coach, that he needs to be, for the future. Everybody's talking about maybe we need to keep him because he had that love. But last week he ran a lot of plays that they didn't run this week. For some odd reason, I don't know why. But they didn't have no flow. They didn't have no, they didn't have no rhythm today with their offense. And it was the second half, they started playing that conservative football. Looking for that field goal, man. We got to get away from that. We had 20 points in the first half, man. We used to just barely even we used to be on 17 forever for the whole game. And I'm just disappointed, so that's just how I feel right now.
Hey, I'm with you, Marcus. It is disappointing. I mean, you go up 20-10, then you only score 6 points in the last half. Mm-hmm. To your point, what we were all talking earlier, like blame pie and all that kind of stuff, is that, well, that kind of tells you defense didn't stop them. You didn't score them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there was starting to be a little bit of groundswell for the retain Mike McCoy movement, and I'm not hearing too much from those people tonight.
Yeah, I just think, like, if you want to talk about maybe someone with potential to be a head coach, maybe you need to be focused on the defensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which we'll preview on in the next little bit. But let's go to the phones. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you're on with Titans Talkback.
I appreciate y'all taking my call. I know it's not the result we wanted, but, I mean, the way Cam's been playing the last 4 or 5 games, I think it's a great thing to watch. I also think one of the things that cost us this game is one team had a wide receiver one and the other doesn't.
I mean, that is something, Anthony. I mean, they were able to still run the ball with Audric Estime, right? Like,
yeah.
If you want to make a case for being anti-Jeremiah Love, which I am not, but if you want to make the case, this would be a good example of showing that, hey, Chris Olave over at Audric Estime, first-round wide receiver. What was he, 6th-round running back, I think?
Was he
5th or
drafted?
6th? I think he was drafted, right?
Day 3, late day 3.
He was day 3.
Way, yeah.
But, like, that could be your argument. You could just look at this one game. But this team is in desperate need of a wide receiving threat.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they are in desperate need of a wide receiver one, but you may just need to be settling for just a threat at wide receiver, because I don't know if you really have a threat at wide receiver right now, because you can scheme guys open.
Yeah, consistent one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the keys to the game, is that New Orleans had a guy that they knew we can go to in this situation, and he's going to win the one-on-one matchups. We just got to find ways to get him one-on-one with the Titans waiver wire cornerbacks, like guys that were like not even in the league a couple weeks ago. So you've got a guy that can exploit those matchups. Who is that guy for the Titans right now?
Yeah.
I don't know if they have it. A guy that can just take over and win whatever matchup he's up against.
Yeah. So number one receiver, it gets taken out of context for this. The number one receiver is the number one option on circumstances. And I'll go back to Arizona's number one receiver is not a wide receiver.
Right.
Number one target in Vegas is not a wide receiver.
Yeah.
The number one target for the past 10 years in Kansas City has not been a wide receiver. It's been a person that you scheme up opportunities to get the best matchup to win football games. And I think, to your point, Zach, it's you can scheme the guys with their ability to utilize their skill sets, put them in situations to be successful. And that's how you become a quote-unquote number one target. And if you got to make the plays there to get there.
Right.
Jackson Smith and Njigba. I used to forget my man's last name. Njigba. Which I should know that boy's name where he torched the Utes a few years ago in the Rose Bowl. But again, you talk about somebody who has had a pretty good career, got to the point now they're scheming him to his strengths.
Right.
And giving him opportunities to take advantage of his strengths against people.
Well, look at Alec Pierce, right? That's a good. Everybody wants to pay Alec Pierce $30 million a year, and that's because he's been schemed open. Buyer beware on my end that you got to make sure you have the same scheme that can work to his strengths here at Tennessee if you're going to go spend that kind of money.
Yeah, I do think I'm of the opinion just go get playmakers. You don't have to try and find this alpha dog that's going to be the top target on every single play that you run or anything like that. You just got to get some guys that can win matchups, and you got to find ways to get them the ball.
There you go. Let's go to Jim. Jim, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Yes, thanks for taking the call. Love listening to the show. I've been a Titans fan since back in '96. Eddie George started out. Look, I think, what I love seeing right now, and, I listen to this show. I've never called in, go to all the games. But the people just talking bad about the front office and about Chad Brinker and all this. And it's do we understand what that front office is trying to do over the last 3 years to turn this Titanic around? And we talk about this rookie class, this last draft class. That's a great draft class. If you look out on the field and those rookies that are playing, you've got 2 of them put up on the board today that are breaking records, right? And you also look at things like that front office is doing on cap salary. The Titans are going to have the most money next year to spend. That is what this front office is trying to do. And I don't call in because I don't, I'm just not for me and how I work. But the fact that people call in and blame all this stuff, but people don't know what happens behind those closed doors, and they don't know the business side of things. They don't know how to turn a program, an NFL team around. And that's what's happening right now. And that's what's exciting. And the fact that, you got fans that are, don't want to lose, but then they get mad because we win a game, because we drop in a draft spot, right? And then you got people today that are cheering, and then when we lose, it's oh, that's great because the Browns, whatever, and then now we're going to move up. That's not how, you can't, that's not how this works, right? This is the NFL. This is professional sports. And the fact that this team is heading in the direction, I 100% believe this team is heading in the right direction with Brinker, Bergonzi, and Reggie McKenzie and Dave, that core group right there. Those guys know how to run an organization, and the haters that are out there, it's just hard to sit and listen to. And as a fan, a loyal fan, I've had enough of that. Just hearing that, and I like the excitement. Today felt exciting in that stadium, and yes, there was a lot of New Orleans Saints fans. There was a lot of Titans fans cheering and excitement in that stadium today, which felt great and has been a while coming, to say the least.
Hey, listen, greatly appreciate it, Jim. And I also want to add it. I know he talked a lot about this draft class, but can we talk about the 2024 draft class and give it some props?
Let's do it.
J.C. Latham, Tavondre Sweat, Cedric Gray, James Williams, Jalen Harrell are all continually making plays in some form or fashion for this team. Yeah. James Williams is a 7th round pick, and his best asset for this team right now is special teams. Well, that's still a pretty important phase of the game.
Yeah.
And for a 7th round pick to make his impact felt on special teams and be able to fill in when Cedric Gray was gone last week and not really miss a beat, that's important for this team. Because you're talking about those 5 guys, and then Cam Ward, Femi Oladejo, who hopefully comes back and is something, Kevin Winston, Chimere Dike, Gunnar Helm, Elikai Manor, maybe Jackson Slater gets a start at right guard or center next year. Marcus Harris, Khalil Mullins is starting to maybe get incorporated a little bit more, who's also playing special teams. That's a good foundation, especially considering that since 2020, J-Rob drafted through 3 straight draft classes 23 players. Only one of those is on the Tennessee Titans right now. Only 9 of the other 22 are still playing in the NFL.
On any roster.
On any roster. Active on any roster. 9 out of that 22.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of insane when you think about it.
It shows how bad things got here for the state of this Titans roster. And Jim, I think that was an excellent call. Call us back anytime, brother. Appreciate that. But I do think it is important perspective to kind of look back and realize where this team is at in the state of rebuilding this roster. And I think people look at it in different ways. It's not just go get your quarterback, go get your wide receiver, get your edge rusher, and you're good to go. You've got to build out depth, and you've got to establish a system where as these guys go on to other teams, you don't re-sign them, or guys age out eventually. You've got to have a system in place where you're replacing those guys as they go. Mm-hmm. And to do that, you've got to build out depth. So maybe not every pick is going to be sexy, but this is the bedrock of the future, these last two draft classes. And the way things stand right now, it's looking pretty good. And I think that is reason, to Jim's point, that is reason to be optimistic about where this team is heading in terms of roster building.
Because I still don't think we talk enough about T'Vondre Sweat, what he's been able to put through.
He's one, I've always loved him since they picked him.
Because if you didn't think Sweat affected that game today in a positive manner, you would be crazy. Because he was making plays and pushing pockets and getting double teams and all this kind of stuff. I
guarantee you, Big Jeff would say, I'm as successful because of having this young man next to me.
Yeah.
But I'll say this about the franchise and the organization from an administration standpoint. I think, like anything else, it's there needs to be consistency in the philosophy. And I think we're on the third GM in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so philosophical differences you can't help but have, and now, which would be the third head coach in almost that same amount of time. Mm-hmm. And that continuity. And I think once you get that, you'll start seeing a little bit more growth. And we're seeing growth now, don't get me wrong. I think, but to your point, you had JR, then Rand, and now Chad, and now we're Berganzi, I should say. And then Chad leapfrog, and so it's like it's all the different philosophies from that standpoint, and I think that's where the fans are probably looking to and looking at the product on the field. But I think once you start getting that consistency from a philosophical standpoint, that aligns with what the coach wants, and I think we had that for a time there with JR and Vrabel.
Yeah,
you had that for a time
for sure, and
then I think it went sour with the AJ Brown thing. And I think that changed a lot of that dynamic. And then we missed some picks with that after that. Mm-hmm. And then Rand had a good draft. We forget that was one of the Rand's draft too as well. And now we got this core guys, and I think they seem to be a little bit more aligned. And time will tell. At least from this draft, it seems to be going well from this past draft with Cam and everybody else. And then this offseason will be a big offseason for them. And this draft will be even a bigger draft for them. And then how that translates into wins and losses going forward. But that is, to me, has been the biggest difference in what's going on in, say, Philly or Kansas City. I'm thinking to the more successful franchises is the stability and consistency from the people that are making those decisions from a personnel standpoint.
I think Cam Ward sums it up. Cam Ward today after the press conference was asked if this game was representative of where the team is at. He goes, no. I think the best thing about this team is that we know change is coming. The biggest thing we want to have in the locker room is a winning culture. Boom. And I think that tells you everything. That it's kind of hard to say, but things are trending in the right direction. They have a good young core to build around to lay a good foundation. Coming up next, we're going to go to Bam on the phone. Then we're also going to do the Eurofix look ahead. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone. It's the Lee Company countdown nope. Man, almost the whole way through. The whole way through almost. Lee Company, Titans Talkback. Available 24/7. Put Lee Company on your team. Tackle your home's heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical problems. Schedule online at leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Let's go to the phones real quick before our Eurofix look ahead. Bam, you're on with Titans Talkback.
Professor, scholar, doctor, tighten up.
Tighten up.
This is bad, man. They always kind of don't understand me when I call in, but it's all good. I think, man, to me, I say, man, the defense, man, they just, they were just outmanned, man, and they just wore down, saying? They were doing a good job stopping the run. They got out on them. Second half, it just went that way. But, they put forth a good effort. And like I said, we got a bunch of threes out there, so I give them credit for it. I think the offense looked pretty good. But, I like to think outside the box, guys, and I just want to know, I don't really see nothing in the draft. I mean, Zach, I know you love, pun intended. But what y'all say about, all right, check this out, a 1 and a 3 for Justin Jefferson, because I think he hating like in Minnesota, or a 1 for Max Crosby. I'll take either one of them. Hey, y'all tighten up.
He's going after franchise type players.
Max Crosby's out there. They put him on IR because they're tanking. Well, then he goes out into the basketball court this weekend and shoots a video of him doing all kinds of jump shots and cuts, saying that his ACL and everything, or whatever his injury is, and his lower leg is fine. He should be out there playing. So that means that they may get docked, by the way. If they are faking an injury, they may get docked some draft capital, which would be hilarious if they do all this tanking just to get it taken away from them by the NFL. Because there is valid proof right now that, at least based on those videos, that he could be out there playing football.
Yeah.
I hope those are videos for 2022 or something.
I hope they're from right now just because I want to see the epic drama of it. And also, I do think Justin Jefferson, I think it's going to take more than a first and a third, unfortunately. I would love if it was just those, but I think it's going to take more than that.
Yeah, if you could get Justin Jefferson for a first and a third, I'd be making that trade.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody in the NFL would be making that trade, which means that the value is going to get bumped up. I love it, though.
A first for Max Crosby. I'm curious how you guys feel about that.
I would do it.
I think I would too.
I would do it.
I think we got a lot of guys that get out the quarterback, but having a double-digit guy on the edge just changes.
Next to Big Jeff.
Just changes the dynamics of your team, your defense. Regardless, don't get me wrong, you want to get some quality secondary guys, but if you got that consistently, that changes the game.
Yeah, and you could look at it this way. Is there a guy in the draft that you could pick with the 4th overall pick that's going to be as good as Max Crosby?
Right.
Don't think so.
Not
by a long shot.
David Bailey.
Maybe David Bailey. I do like me some David Bailey.
I will say this. Last year was 30 years since they drafted Cam Ward, or since they drafted Steve McNair. So between Steve McNair and Cam Ward was 30 years.
Yeah.
They drafted Eddie George the very next year. So that means to be 30 years if they were to draft Jeremiah Love since Eddie George.
It's a workhorse.
Just saying.
Just
saying.
We got to call that witch in the woods, all the vibes and the magic around the franchise.
There we go. Hey, now we look ahead to next week's opponent and the look ahead presented by Eurofix. Let me remind you that Eurofix repairs everything European that you drive and below dealer pricing. ASE certified technicians, a local company that has serviced Middle Tennessee for over 2 decades. Visit EurofixOnline.com. Next week, the Titans are heading to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the regular season finale. Can they play some kind of spoiler? Because here's what it is. Right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in the lead for the AFC South. If they were to lose to the Tennessee Titans and the Texans were to beat the Colts, the Texans are number 1 in the AFC South. So, listen, if this was a Texans situation and the Titans are playing the Texans, to be saying, I hope they play spoiler to the Texans and Jacksonville wins the AFC South. But at this point, I just want to play spoiler. And let me tell you something. I bet Big Jeff hates some Jacksonville. So let's play spoilers. But if you want to look at a potential head coaching candidate who has been mentioned, which we should, because he's been mentioned, we should really learn how to say his last name at this point. But Anthony Campanile,
Campanelli is according to the team website, I think. Yeah.
Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, is a guy to watch, and I think a guy that has shown all season long on tape that he is adaptable, multiple, and really, really damn good at his job.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about effective usage of personnel. You know, he seems like they've unlocked something with Trayvon Walker there, a developmental kind of guy that is a bit of a tweener between linebacker and edge rusher. He had a sack today. Josh Hines-Allen, pure pass rusher, got a sack today. Talked about the game plan, how they attacked the Titans in the first meeting, kind of throwing some different looks at Cam Ward, rushing for, being content to drop guys into coverage, having that game plan that really stifled them. It's a guy that I think is just starting to pop up on radars in terms of head coaching searches, so maybe it's a little bit early, but I'm intrigued. I would give this guy an interview for sure because of how the Jags are playing defense right now. 15.5 points per game in their last 7, which they've won all 7 of those. They're playing on one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. Looks like they still have a shot at the number 1 seed in the AFC. Still plenty to play for, but that defense has really come alive under Campanelli too.
Would you take Kim over Saleh?
Ooh, wow.
Just saying. Because I think he's going to be in that conversation again. The way that San Francisco defense has played without their players, that'd be my guy if you go that route again. I think to this season and the coaching changes and all the things that's kind of taking place, whether it's a veteran head coach or a outstanding coordinator, you got to have somebody that's going to connect with your quarterback. And I think we thought that was the case with Callahan, but it seemed to be kind of a faux pas thing. It was kind of like just, it really wasn't there. That connection really wasn't there. And I think when you look at some of the things that happen in the teams, there's that head coach quarterback relationship where they seem to thrive. And I think Cam said it. You guys help me if I'm wrong. He said he'd like to be a part of this conversation. And I think he wants to have a feel for whoever that is. I think the Titans are going to have a lot of options, and there's going to be a lot of quality options. I think there's going to be some surprise let goes in the coaching industry that's going to shock some people, whether it be Tomlin,
speak
Harbaugh,
it into existence.
Stepnowski, these 2 coordinators we're talking about now, Mike McCarthy. There's going to be some options out there, and is this the right spot? Like an Eric Glenn guy again, who at one point he was part of the candidate search here, but then pulled his name out, but now he's in New York. And so this is going to be, I think, depending on how people view Cam Ward, a very interesting landing spot for somebody that of some of these candidates.
Let me ask you this, because you talked a little bit about this just a few moments ago. This is the second time that he's going to be playing. Cam Ward will be facing this defense. Second time this entire coaching staff will be playing this defense. What do you need or want to see from Cam Ward in the rematch?
Yeah, and to your point too, being a spoiler as a player, and if you're out the playoffs, you want to leave your season on a high note and win, and have a win going to your offseason, winning a game, and being a spoiler can be part of it. So be it. We definitely would love to do that. But I think depending on Jacksonville's in playing for their playoff lives and a division title, which can go a long way for them going forward for their franchise. So what you expect from them is they're going to treat this game like a mid-season trying to get into the playoffs type game. They got to win this game to get in. So they're going to throw whatever they need to at him and this offense and this team to get this win, to win the division, get into the playoffs. Because once you get into the tournament, it's just a matter of getting hot at the right time, execution, injuries, all the things that transpire. But you just need to get into the tournament, and anything can happen.
Liam Cohen has this offense averaging 32.6 points per game over their last 7 games.
Oh, my God.
And they are creative with, Like they hand the ball off to anybody, receivers, running backs, tight ends, whoever. The quarterback's making plays
I'm
with his
assuming
legs.
today was like their lowest scoring game of like that time.
It's one of them,
right?
yeah.
23 points.
Yeah, it was one of them.
Still
So
put up 23.
they are playing some really good complementary football now.
And people, you can say what you want to say. I think, again, you're talking about expectations. Trevor Lawrence's expectation was so high that we just built him up. He was next Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. But he's been pretty steady.
He's getting there.
He's getting there. I think the biggest thing about it is he's had a consistent coordinator from back to back. I think he's on like his fourth or fifth coordinator since his career.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 and 5 or something like that. And people underestimate that impact. Look at Mariota. I said this about Mariota back then. He went through like 4 or 5. Alex Smith went through that. Like, do you get somebody consistent enough? Oh, now they're in Pro Bowls and now they're doing some of the things. So it's not surprising that they're doing it. And that's why, again, when you have some success, people start plucking your coaches and you talk about, oh, look at this defense coordinator.
Yeah.
And then next year they're down because they didn't have the right kind of coordinator to fit the personnel. And, so
they're also fifth in rushing attempts. Just a little more Jeremiah Love propaganda. The Jacksonville Jaguars have saved Trevor Lawrence's career.
I wonder who you want the Titans to draft with that 4th pick right
by
now.
rushing the football. Good teams rush to football. That's very important. All right, that will do it for us. For the Dr. Kevin Dyson, for the scholar Stoney Keeley, I'm the Professor Zach Lyons, and this has been the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 105 The Zone. Titans radio coverage is produced by Joseph Bonanno, studio producer Justin Hawkins, studio host Lucas Panzica, promotions director Rich Ferris, director of sales Hunter Rice, general manager Allison Warren, operations manager Paul Mason, executive producer Rhett Bryan, for the Grand Poobah Jackson Williams behind the glass is the Lee Company Titans Talkback right here on 104.5 The Zone.